We respectfully request the Sangha great virtues for the sake of this assembly and all living beings. Please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach and guide us how to end birth and death, leave suffering and attain bliss, and quickly realize non-birth. Cung thính đại đức tặng thịnh, vì thứ pháp hội cấp nhất thiết chúng sanh. Thịnh chuyên diệu pháp luân giao đạo ngã môn, như há liêu sanh thoát thư ly khổ đạc lạc, tất chứng vô sanh. Homage to the Blessed, Noble, and Perfectly Enlightened One. Nam mô Sadanto Suche Doye Alahudi Samyao Sanputo Sie. Nam mô Tạc Đạc Tha Tô Già Đà Già A La Ha Đế Tam Hiệu Tam Bồ Đà Tọa. The unsurpassed, profound, subtle, and wonderful Dharma in 100,000 million aeons is difficult to encounter. Now that I'm able to see and hear, I will receive and maintain it. I vow to fathom the thus come one's true and actual principles. Wu shang sheng sheng wei miao fa, 百千万劫难遭遇，我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。O Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Great Master Hui Neng, Great Master Shengshou, all monks and nuns and all good advisors of Emitofuo. Chư Phật Bồ Tát, Khuyên Thư Lục Tổ, Nhất Tổ, quý thầy cô và quý vị thiện tri thức A Di Đà Phật. Chư Phật Bồ Tát, Liêu Chủ, Trụ Chủ, 各位出家人，各位善知识，阿弥陀佛。Hello everyone, today is the 19th of March, 2022. We're here to continue discussing the first chapter of the 6th Patriarch Sutra. We are now on slide number 527. Almost halfway, isn't it? About halfway. Almost done for a chapter? Okay. All right. Text. Today, in this gathering of the magistrate and officials, of bhikshus, bhikshunis, clergy members, and laymen, there is no one of you who is not here because of accumulated ages of karmic conditions.
今日得与使君官僚僧尼道同俗同此一会，莫非累劫之缘。
So, at that assembly, there were the magistrate, the bhiksha, more like the governor nowadays, and the officials in charge of the county, and bhikshus, bhikshunis. It's interesting that they first listed the magistrate and the officials before the bhikshus and bhikshunis. Okay, and that's perfectly okay. And the master addressed them first: bhikshu, bhikshunis, clergy members, and laymen. Clergy members, 僧尼道俗 Okay, so meaning clergy members could be the Brahmins and other members from the other type of religions and laymen. There's not one you want to do is not here because accumulated ages of karmic conditions. Here, the Master says, reiterated for us, that the reason that they gathered there to investigate chant, to learn from a great master is because those people, the governor, the officials, the bhikshu and bhikshunis have been cultivated under him for a long, long time. But that's how he put it in a very, very polite way. That we have some ages of karmic conditions, meaning they've been making offerings to him, and that's how they would have been able to study from under him repeatedly. This is what happens. It's not uncommon for these great teachers to have a group of students who would follow them and study from them and learn from them. Just like the Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, he had 1,255 bhikshus who were his constant companions. That's typical. So they followed the Buddha. Similarly, we have these people present there who also were constant companions of the Master as well, from accumulated ages since a very, very long, long time. Questions? 5.
Master, when he said he listed the magistrate, and does that mean that they are his foremost disciple in the previous life?
They definitely were. Most of them were disciples from a previous life. Otherwise, they would not be able to have enough blessings to listen to his Dharma or survive the lecture, at least Dharma talks. But furthermore, this is a protocol where, although in our world, in the spiritual world, the monks and nuns outrank the magistrate and the officials, the monks and nuns are supposed to be teachers of God and emperors and so forth. So magistrate is pretty low level. However, in terms of the worldly concerns, it's these people. It's not unreasonable to give them more recognition at all, because we live under their protection. They have been very sincerely supporting the temple. So it's perfectly okay. 529. Because in past lives you have made offerings to the Buddhas as well as planted good roots, you now have the opportunity to hear the certain teaching which is the cause of obtaining the Dharma.
亦是过去生中供养诸佛同种善根，方使得闻如上顿教得法之因。
So he says, in the past you made offerings to the Buddhas, to many, many Buddhas, as well as planted good roots. Okay, offerings to the Buddhas, there are two kinds of methods according to the Chinese dictionary. So you do the offerings of phenomenon and nomenon. Okay, Li Shi, meaning that phenomenon, meaning you use incense, you use lamps, you use food, like you see on the altar here, in order to make offering. That's called phenomenon, meaning material things. Or you can also offer to the Buddhas in terms of principles, meaning you offer the Buddha your mind of faith. Okay? And and devotion. That's a form of offering of principles. Furthermore, there's also the offerings of material things, of money, of money, and then or you also make offerings of the Dharma, meaning you use the Dharma to help other living beings. For example, you recite mantras to help others as a form of Dharma offering. You speak Dharma, the Buddha's Dharma, to benefit others as a form of Dharma offering. So there are two kinds, all right? In general, you offer the Buddhas, you offer incense and flowers, you offer your faith, okay? And the other are external things such as money and the Dharma. As well as plant the good roots. Plant the good roots. Good roots meaning you do good things. What are the good roots you do? Number 3, according to the dictionary here, how do you plant good roots? You practice Chan, you practice kindness, compassion, you practice purity, and so forth. That's how you plant good roots, meaning you keep precepts, is to plant good roots. Number 4, you can plant good roots by, as you practice Chan, you give rise to the proper views. You separate yourself from the erroneous and deviant views. And your heart gives rise to the delight or joy in the Dharma. That's another way of planting good roots. You enjoy the Dharma, for example. That joy in your heart is actually creating blessings for you. And number 5, or you recite the Buddha's name. Okay? So those are the examples of planting good roots. And that's how, because you made offerings to the Buddhas and as well as planted good roots, that's how you got the opportunity to hear the certain teaching. Okay, so the certain teaching is the quintessential teaching of Mahayana. Mahayana is about the certain teaching. Your enlightenment is about the certain enlightenment. So that's why this is the key teaching in Mahayana. All right, the 6 paramitas will lead to this certain enlightenment. All right, 533. This teaching has been handed down by former sages. It is not Huineng's own wisdom. You who wish to hear the teaching of the former sages must purify your minds.
教是先圣所传，不是慧能自制。愿闻先圣教者，各令净心。
Excuse me. Okay, the great master further says, this teaching here I'm giving you, this certain teaching I'm giving you, has been handed down to me by the former sages, the prior patriarchs, the previous bodhisattvas who came to our world to train our ancestors, our predecessors, he says. So those were the former sages who transmitted it from, who gave it, handed it down themselves, and it's not the master's own wisdom. So this is a very important part, the important stage where the master says, this is the first time I'm speaking Dharma to you. It's not my own wisdom. This is a wisdom that has been handed down to me as a patriarch from the former sages, the former patriarchs as well. All right? So you can trust this thing because it's not my own. And you who wish to hear the teaching of former sages must purify your mind. You must, in order to properly receive it and take full advantage of it, you must purify your mind. So you keep your mind, abstain from thinking about impure things. And give forth the mind of faith. 535, text. After hearing it, cast aside your doubts, and that way you will be no different from the sages of the past. Hearing this Dharma, the entire assembly was delighted, made obeisance, and withdrew.
闻了，各自除疑，如先待圣人无别。一众闻法欢喜作礼而退。
All right, 536. Did we fix the Vietnamese translation according to the commentary here? Did we fix it, Xian Ren?
Sorry, Master, I don't remember which one need to be fixed.
It doesn't
I'll
matter.
double check.
It doesn't matter. Anyway, it's no big deal. Hearing this Dharma I'm giving to you, because remember, this Dharma, these words of wisdom, this certain teaching, came from generation to generation from former sages. Therefore, when you hear of it, cast aside any doubts, the things that you don't understand, the things that you would be contradictory to your understanding, to your beliefs, to your prejudices. And therefore, when that happens, you give rise to doubt. And that's going to happen, the Master says. It's going to happen. You will have certain things you disagree, and you will more than disagree, you will doubt the teaching. Okay? And what do you do then? Throw it away. It's that simple. When you listen to the great teaching, the certain teaching, of course you won't be able to understand it. That's why it's called certain teaching. That's why it's called wisdom. You're confused. You cannot possibly understand the words of wisdom quite often. And therefore, in those moments where your confusion is in control, you only have to cast aside your doubts. Don't dwell on that. Yes, it's okay. It's normal to doubt because it's contrary to your intellect, your understanding. But it's okay. It's okay to have doubts, but those thoughts of doubts arise in your mind. Okay? When they arise, just throw them out. Don't follow them. And that way, if you do that, you will be no different from the sages of the past. How is that? How is that you're no different from the sages of the past? You hear this a lot in the Buddhist sutras, Buddhist dharmas. You do this and you're different, no different from a Buddha, you're no different from the sages of the past. Too easy to be true, isn't it? What is that called? Doubt. So what do? Cast it aside. Okay, so he tells you don't give rise to doubts. If the doubt arises, cast it aside. Because when you do that, you're no different from the sages of the past. Of course, it's hard for us to believe. So he tests us right away. Do you believe me or not? Okay, it's more than that, more than just just a test. But is it for real? Is he being truthful? Is it factual? What do you think? This is the second time we're doing this, so I'm pretty sure, oh, that's the end of it. I'm pretty sure you do have some opinions. The first time we went through this is under the safe corridors of Chinese wisdom. Now it's wide open. So is it possible if you cast aside all the doubts, then you know different from the sages of the past? And you hear this a lot, you read about this a lot, you do this simple thing, and all of a sudden you are the same as the sages. Too good to be true. My first reaction, okay? It's always been the case. I said, really? And how am I going to explain it to dreamers like you? Yes, 3.
Master, casting aside your doubts is not the same as sweeping it under the rug, right? Because usually when people say they can't drop the thought, so they feel like they're suppressing it. They're not really dropping that thought.
Is there a difference? It's a good point. Is there a difference? Is a suppression, casting aside doubt, is it different from suppressing the doubt? Yes, 5 fingers.
I think they are different, because I think when you suppress something, it's kind of unhealthy. But when you cast aside the doubt, you do that by saying, I know I'm thinking about that thing. I'm not going to deny I think about that, but I choose to drop that and think about something different. And I think it's more of a conscious choice to cast it aside rather than suppressing it.
Suppression is not healthy. Excuse me? What kind of talk is that? Suppressing the urge to take a drink is not healthy? Huh? When you're alcoholic, you have this urge to drink, and you suppress that desire, this urge to drink. It's not healthy?
One time, I used to smoke a lot of weed, and
It's a lot of weed.
I used to smoke weed, and one time I tried to quit, and so I tried to suppress it, but then that suppression came out in a different way. So I drank a lot, and that night I drank too much.
Then you turn to suppressing drinking or not?
No, I think, eventually I quit them both, but it was more of a conscious decision to stop it.
Okay. 9. 9.
Mô Phật và Thầy, giống bây giờ mình nghe Pháp vậy đó, giống mấy người mà Tàu nó cũng biết những cái chữ, những cái câu chuyện này, những cái Pháp này mà nó nghe không có được. Nó biết, nó đọc ra rất là hay mà nó không có hiểu được cái bên trong rất là sâu xa, nó không hiểu. Là nó không phải là nó không đủ phước, phải không Thầy?
So Master, this Dharma is in Chinese, so the Chinese, they read the words, they understand, they know the words, but then they don't really understand the deeper meaning. So does that mean that they don't have enough blessing?
Right, it's, usually is the case. When you have enough blessings, when you don't have enough blessings, you struggle with all these instructions. Go ahead, Q&A.
To me, I think it takes great strength to cast away doubts. And I just had a quick question as well. The prior sages do they also refer to Buddhas as well?
Prior what? Prior sages? Yes, absolutely. The sages could be the Buddha is in disguise. It's not uncommon for Buddhas to come as just a lowly sage, if you will. All right? So it does require great strength. I'm not sure. It requires great strength. How can people like him who cannot resist drinking cast aside doubts? Huh? So the instruction is only for people who have great strength? How do you go like that? Yes? 5.
Master, I think to cast aside doubt and no different from a sage, meaning that if they don't have doubt, they plant the seed through hearing and wait until it's the moment to sprout, and it will sprout naturally.
Exactly. The magic is all you have to do when you listen to the great Dharma. This is very, very important. The misconception of worldly people is that, especially the Koreans, not us, when they hear the Dharma, they have to agree. Yes? Boo. Hey, boo boo. You understand? It has to make sense to you. Yes? And what the Master is saying, even if it doesn't make sense to you, because it doesn't make sense to you, you have doubts. Okay? And I admit to you, I had plenty of doubts when I read Mahayana texts, especially here. You cast aside doubt, you're the same. You're no different from the sages of the past. Okay? I disagreed. I said, no, that's not possible. So when I asked in the comment here, just like that, really? That's really from me. That's my first reaction. When I read this section, I said, no. How is it possible? Me, a lowly person, casting aside doubt, and I be the same, no different from the sages of the past. Okay, and therefore, what kind of doubt are we casting? How do we go about casting doubts? What does it involve? And so it's a fair question. Is it suppression or is it casting doubt? Here's what it is. Here's what he's referring to. He's referring to if the doubt arises, like it happened to me constantly when I first read the Mahayana text, I said, no, really? Anyone? Only Boo Boo and I have that problem. The rest of you, okay, have no problems. So in my mind, I said, no, it's still good to be true. So is that called casting doubts? Is it casting aside doubts? Oh no, this is too much. How is it possible? Rooming. Go ahead, little bird. Wait to say hi. Okay, hello. Yeah? That's it? Okay, so what is casting aside doubt? Is that I say, no way. How is it possible? Go ahead, Q&A.
Master, maybe the difference between cast aside and suppressing is casting aside just means not thinking about it. You cannot think about it more because it's aside. And suppressing, there's this still constant fighting and thinking process of trying to suppress something.
Okay. The difference between casting aside doubt versus suppressing doubt is what? Yes, go ahead too.
I think, like she said, it's fighting it. When you fight the doubt, it uses your willpower, and I think you have to be more gentle when those thoughts come up, and just say, I understand, but I'm going to choose to open my mind up and be receptive more to the other side.
Okay, this difference is very important, distinction here. It's not about good for you or bad for you. It's about Chan. It's next clue. Go ahead, Koreans. Go ahead, go Forest. Savvy people, smart people, wise people. What is this? The subtlety is so important for you to understand this. And the clue I just gave you is about Chan. This is the essence of Chan. It's beautiful teaching. If anyone explained this to me, someone explained it to me 25 years ago, would have saved me so much time. Anyone? Come on. Last chance. For the people who understand Chan, so much pressure. You see, no one gets it. Shall we leave it there and post it online somewhere and says, who understands this? Give me the right answer, and you get $2. I'm poor nowadays, cannot afford to give out prizes anymore. Yes, sir, number 7.
Mình bỏ cái nghi hoặc đó, tức là những một cái ý tưởng nó khởi lên. Mình biết cái đó không phải là cái chân tâm của mình, mà cái khởi lên vậy là cái vọng tâm nó khởi lên, mình bỏ liền. Còn mình đè nén là mình ôm nó, ôm cái vọng tâm đó, mà ôm nó thì làm sao mà mình ngộ được cái chân tâm được. Biết nó khởi lên là mình drop nó liền, bỏ nó liền. Còn bây giờ mình biết nó là vọng tâm rồi, nó đã vậy thêm nghi rồi ôm nó luôn nữa thì làm sao được.
So when you cast aside your doubts, meaning that you get rid of your doubts, and you see that there's a thought arise, you know that it's not your true mind, and then you get rid of it. And then if you suppress your thought, it means like you still attached to it, you still hugged it, you still grasping to it, and it's not your true mind, then you cannot enlighten. So whatever arises, you drop it.
Yes, 3.
2 comments. One is from Venerable Shen An. You need to enter samadhi while listening to the Dharma. You must cast aside doubts in order to enter samadhi, meaning not thinking while listening to the Dharma. And the second one is from Wei Liu. Just put aside and we'll get to it down the road.
Anyone else? Of course, you, sir. What do Catholics do to cast aside doubts?
We work on it. We have to work on it until we cast aside the doubts of whatever is, like, if we don't have exact faith, 100% faith in the existence of God, then we work on it, and we have to continue working on it until we cast aside those doubts. If we suppress it, we're just going to suppress it, and we're still going to have those doubts, and you're going to continue to grow and grow even bigger.
Go ahead, Q&A.
the master. So when we are suppressing the doubts, there's two thoughts. There's the thought, and then there's also the thought of suppression. So that's two thoughts. But when we cast aside the doubts, then there's only one thought to cast it aside.
Exactly. You got $2. I owe you $2. Very good. This is very the nature of Chan. Doubts will arise naturally because it's contrary to your upbringing, to your prejudices. It violates your understanding. And therefore, the doubts will arise naturally. What happens is that if you suppress it, then you actually are acting. Suppression is proactive. You're acting upon that thought of doubt, which is not Chan at all. Whereas you discard it here, when you discard it, what does discard mean? What does it involve? Do you actually take the thought and say, nah, garbage can, nah. What do? Yes, sir, too.
No,
You're so violent. You don't beat it.
Just you don't think about it.
Cast aside means that if you've ever seen those cartoons, cast aside that, right? That's what cast aside means. And unfortunately, it says here in Chinese, 除疑. Okay? 除 is dispel or cast aside. 疑 is your doubt. Okay? And unfortunately, 自除疑, meaning that you throw it out. Okay? You dispel it. Okay, how do you spell it? It's misleading because the word here, but this is the only way to express it. The expel here, the casting aside here, dispelling, casting aside, basically is do nothing. Let it die. And that's why the Chinese don't get it. Unless you understand Chan, you would not be able to understand casting aside your doubts. Like the Catholics. They work on it. They keep on working on it. When you keep on working on it, the doubt grows. It never stops. There's something in the back of your mind says, I don't know, there's something else, there's something else. It keeps on growing. Okay? So that's why it says here, when the doubt arises, casting aside doubts means do nothing. Don't dwell on it. Don't think about it. It will arise. Just like hunger. I'm hungry. Or somebody said a couple of days ago, I'm shaken. I'm so hungry, I'm shaken. I'm sweating. What do? Nothing. Don't, hello, Uber Eats. Hello, Pizza Hut. No, you do nothing. That's called casting aside thoughts of hunger. Does it help? Okay, you all are close, but not quite, didn't hit it quite on the head until somebody in San Jose. All right. Now, if you cast aside the doubt, you'll be no different from sages of the past. How is that possible? Suppose you do nothing with thoughts when thoughts of doubts arise. And makes you immediately, instantaneously You get it? Instantaneously. What is that called? Sudden teaching. Isn't that beautiful? Sudden teaching to you sounds like you have this concept of sudden teaching as something that's so wonderful, so maybe red or the colors of the Buddhist flag. It has some kind of shape. Okay? You have all these misconceptions about this sudden teaching. What is it? It's right there. After hearing it, cast aside your doubts. You will be no different from the sages of the past. That's called sudden teaching. He warned you. He warned them already. He says, okay, that the opportunity to hear the sudden teaching, okay, I'm going to give it to you now, okay? Whatever I tell you, cast aside your doubts, and the wisdom of the sages is yours. Yes, 3.
From Jane on slide.
Nothing to work on. It's called 无作, no action, no karmas. You do nothing. Yes, 3.
From Jane on slide 536. In the sentence 闻了各自除疑, she says 自除疑 is not a phrase to be singled out. It's either 各自除疑 or 除疑.
The Chinese is more precise as 自除疑. That's fine. But I simplify, I drop the 自, because the 自 here is from the master. From me, I simplify it for you. I want you to concentrate on doing nothing. He teaches the Chinese it's about themselves. They must do something. If I stress on the 自 here, there's still action. Okay, so my interpretation is slightly different because it tells you about the essence of the instruction instead of dwelling on the Chinese language. Yes, 3.
She's saying it shouldn't be 自除疑, it should be 各自除疑 or 除疑.
I don't even want to talk about 个. There's no need for 个 even. 个 means each of you. 自 is yourself. Okay, this is for emphasis from the great master. What I'm illustrating to you here is about 除疑, which is for people like us, Westerners. We're not familiar with this concept of 除疑, of casting aside doubts. Okay? And yes, I appreciate the fact, yes, you do a 个除疑 or 自除疑. Actually, it should be 个自除疑. 个除疑 is not enough. 个 has to be 自. Okay? 自 is emphasis because you have to do it yourself. Each of you must 除疑 yourself. Each of you must cast aside doubt yourself because it's critical that you must do it. So the instruction of masters is more details I wouldn't care to go into. Right now, I'm stressing on the 除疑. Okay? It has to be, Jane missed the point of the 自. 自 is very important. 个自 is for emphasis. You have to do it. Your master cannot do it for you. Only you can do it. Not your husband, not your wife. All right, so the concept here is very Chan because 主意 here, okay, means do nothing. Let them arise, let it die. That's all. No need to do anything whatsoever. If you do that, if the thought of doubts arise, like myself, repeatedly in the past where I read these things and it's just this certain teaching is too profound. It doesn't make sense. And therefore the doubt kept on arising. What did I do? I said, oops, I won't touch this. In the future, when I go to this phase here, okay, I think if you go back to the first time I explained this, I think I glossed over the 主意 here. Okay, go to 主意 here. Okay, so that's how I dealt with my doubt, meaning that I took action. I said, well, let's shelve it. Or let's work on it later. That's not 主意. It's not to cast aside doubts. Yes, number 7.
Giống như vậy, không biết Mã Tổ hay là ai cũng có dạy giống như vậy. Tức là có nhiều người than phiền là ngồi thiền thì hoặc niệm Phật á, thì vọng tưởng nó khởi lên. Họ sợ những cái vọng tưởng đó. Thì Mã Tổ mới nói là cái đó là nghiệp báo của ông. Thì làm lơ đừng có làm gì hết, kệ nó. Nghiệp báo của ông nó khởi lên vậy đó. Không có sợ, không có đuổi. Có phải như vậy không?
I remember, I think this is from Matsu, that some people, when they meditate or they recite the Buddha's name, and then they have false thought arise, and then they were scared of that. And
Mà nói đó là do cái nghiệp báo của các ông mà nó khởi lên như vậy. Thì đừng có sợ hay đừng có đuổi, đừng có làm gì nó hết á, kệ nó lát nó chết giống như thầy mới nói đó.
So Matsu explained to them that this is because of your karmic retribution, so that's why it's arise. So do not get scared, do not afraid, and then just ignore it, and eventually it will die down.
That's correct. However, the way I explained it to you is more all-encompassing, more profound, if you will. It's called 无作, meaning that you don't create any karmas, you do nothing whatsoever. So to say it cast aside, it could be misinterpreted. You do nothing whatsoever. My personal approach was, I will shelve it. Okay? I don't believe it, so I will shelve it for now. That is to do something. That's wrong. Okay? That's low level. I used to teach you to do that. I used to tell you, if it doesn't make sense to you, shelve it for now. Okay? And that's still not optimal. But now at your level, okay, I want you to think about do nothing whatsoever. That transcends the construction of this is your past karmas or and so forth. Just do nothing. You don't need to understand. And this is a beautiful thing about a certain teaching. You don't need to understand. You just do nothing. Especially the doubt here, which is even worse than your karmic retributions. Your karmic retributions, when they arise, is easier to handle than this doubt here. This doubt here is a lot deeper, a lot deeper. So yes, the same principles, but you're talking about apples and oranges here. Doubt here is a totally different animal. Yes, 8.
Thank you, Master. I remember when the Shiriras first came to our temple, I had never had any contact with Shiriras. And I remember I just kind of looked at them. I wasn't too sure what I was looking at. And you said to me, just keep an open mind and you will see. So by keeping an open mind, I wasn't casting a doubt. Just keeping an open mind, was that just letting it die naturally in a way?
No, keeping open mind is still keeping. It's for low levels.
Yeah. Okay.
For me to tell you then to tell you do nothing. You say, do nothing? So when it happens, hey, I'm doing nothing. That's what you're going to do. If I told you to do nothing, you say, okay, Master told me to do nothing. I have doubt, so I'm going to do nothing. The Koreans don't get it. It's only Americans. It's an American thing. The Americans are so fascinated with, I must do something about it. Like, them people who says, I work on it, I promise you, God, I will work on it, I will believe. It's called self-entrapment.
May I ask something else, Master?
Certainly.
If I may. Sudden teaching, does that lead to sudden enlightenment, or are they two separate things?
Sudden teaching leads to sudden stupidity. You doubt that? She has to think. She said, got her again? Yes, sir. What's your question? One.
But I just had this thought. But if you say you're casting aside your doubts by doing nothing, you're still doing something by not doing nothing?
What kind of nonsense is this? Suppose you sit there, you say, oh, she's so adorable. How do you cast aside that thought?
By dropping the thought, which I don't know how to do.
Got you. See? And that's why you're suffering so much. Go over to Buddhism, we teach you how to drop those thoughts. Okay, it takes a lot of practice. It takes time. See, it first started with me telling them, don't discard it. Okay, don't reject this, because rejection is not casting doubts. Okay, rejection is still action, still creating karmas. You're rejecting karma. So I said, instead of rejecting, I used to tell them, just shelve it. You don't get it yet. Trust me, you don't get it yet, so just shelve it for now. Okay? That's just an expedient. But now you listen to all those things and you try that and you still never realize it's still just an expedient. Now it's really, the real instruction is do nothing. Let it arise. It's natural. Like if the wind blows, it blows. So what? If the dog barks, the dog barks. So what? If the wife complains, I want some new washer and dryer. So what? You do nothing. YongHua. Okay? Or your husband says, you don't love me. You're right. That's casting aside doubts and accusations. All right. Does it help? Okay. Now we talked about casting aside doubts. What about you will be no different from the sages of the past? Is actually true or not? Okay, yes. 2.
Well, if you could cast aside your doubts the way that he's saying, if you could really do that, you would already be illuminated. You would already be enlightened, like the sages of the past.
Anyone else? Boo, 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 boo. You believe? You agree? Boo, 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 boo.
Unless another thought come up.
So it's a safe answer. God, she lacks originality. Anyone else? You will be no different from the sages of the past. Yes, sir. 1.
I think if you are able to cast your doubts aside, then you'll be a Buddha by that time, right? If someone is able to cast their doubts, because you had no doubts at that point.
Anyone else? Of course, we can't expect the Catholics to get our Buddhist secrets. Yes, 8.
Could it be that when you cast away your doubts, you are doing exactly what the sages of the past also had to do? They had to cast away their doubts.
Original. Very good. Anyone else? Yes, 7.
Khi mà con nghĩ khi mà mình làm lơ mấy cái vọng tưởng khởi lên á, thì mình vẫn còn cái bất sanh bất diệt, là cái biết của mình nó vẫn still there, không sanh không diệt. Cũng như có một lần mà tổ dạy cho ngài Trí Thường á, ngài Trí Thường nói là tôi thấy five skandhat empty. Thì tổ nói ông còn thấy cái đó, nhưng bầu trời xanh mà nó có một cái tia chớp vậy đó, ít no nó đi thì cái bầu trời xanh vẫn still there. Của ông đó, cái Phật tánh của ông đó, nó như vậy thôi.
I'm not sure I want to explain this to you. Because it's not fair to Master Shengshu's disciples. Because you understand they won't. You want it? And the Koreans say, I want it. The Koreans are so nasty. They're so mischievous. I want to know more than they do. No, you said no. Yes, 2.
Master, I think we should be nice to Master Shenghua's disciples.
Yeah, you speak my heart. Yeah, I mean, come on, be nice. You're so selfish. He said, I want to know more than they do. Go ahead, Conk. I mean, Jewel Mountain. Yeah.
Master, is that when you have no doubt, you like you become a second arhat then?
Very good. Not bad. That's pretty good. But half a cigar. Okay. Anyone else? That's pretty good. Excellent. Yes? But what you're missing is that from the sages of the past, okay, this refers not to the second stage arhats. He's referring to the patriarchs as well. How do I know? Have no doubts. Yes, 5.
Master, is that how these people perceive the information through hearing when they are hearing of the Dharma. Let it flow through naturally.
Too nice. Anyone else? So let's take a vote. Who wants me to explain? And who, besides Andres, who is a nice person, prefers for me not to explain? That's Andres. You can lower their hands and save your strength. You see, no one raised their hands. Andres, you're so alone in this world. This world is so full of mean people. They want to trample on your pride. And you know, it's called karmic retribution. I used to be like that. When I was there, I said, we are so much better than anyone else. Oh my God, they're all so inferior to us. It's true. Now guess what? A bunch of lay people say, you're so inferior, you don't even understand. Cast aside doubts and, different sages of the past. So have you decided, Yipche, should I explain or we'll leave it to Yipche and see what she... Are you going to be nice? Nee. Okay. Here's what happens. Here's what he means. When you hear something that's too good to be true, okay, that you say, really? Just like that? Sounds familiar? Really? Just like that? That's it? I cast aside doubt? I'm no different from a bodhisattva? Really? Okay. Those thoughts will arise. Yes? The Koreans, of course, they would never admit it. The Koreans say, no, not me. I'm very nice, okay? I believe you, master, okay? No. These thoughts of doubts arise because it's natural, okay? And all you have to do is, this is a recipe. This is the instructional talks. This is called Chan, instructional talks. The Master Huineng says, I know you will have thoughts of doubts. You cast them aside, that's all. You cast them aside, you cast them aside, you cast them aside. If you keep on doing that, one day, you'll be no different from the sages of the past. I'm giving you a shortcut into becoming a sage. This no different from the sages of the past. All you have to do is cast aside doubt, keep on casting aside, just do nothing, and boom. One day, all of a sudden, your wisdom is the same as the sages. You believe me? That's a secret recipe. You see that? If you read this by yourself, there's no way for you to get it. You understand? This coming from, how does he know this? How?
From the sages of the past.
Down, boy. Don't try so hard. Anyone else? 5.
Was it because he has been there and doing that as well?
Absolutely. He was the one who says, really? Just like that? Really? This is too good to be true. How come that's called cultivation? I used to go crazy over this. I said, no, I will never be able to go to this part and explain it to people like, over here. I said, oh, yeah, this doesn't make sense to me. Let me work on it. I like you, so I work on it. I trust you, Master, so I work on it. I believe you, Master, so let me work on it. I promise I work on it. Sounds familiar? The Korean says, oh, we love you, Master Sunim, we love you, we work on it. Okay, we promise. See? This coming from a teacher's experience. Let me tell you. He says, I've been through it. And this is what I had to do. All right, continue. So this section here, by the way, we will edit it out so that it's not posted online. Really? Did you hear that? Somebody said, really? You doubt me? 3.
From Goat Forest Daniel, Master, I don't think I have thoughts of doubt about the Dharma, but I'm not even in first samadhi. What's going on?
Sometimes we experience what is called numbness of the mind. Okay, that should not be mistaken for wisdom. Okay, wisdom is what happens to what Master Huineng described. The doubts will arise. It's supposed to arise. Okay, it's normal to arise. Okay, so my answer is, Anthony, eventually it will arise. Don't worry, it's coming. We all go through phases in our learning process. It will naturally arise eventually. That's the way it is. So it's called the healthy way, if you will. All right? Isn't it beautiful? Think of the secret that Master Huineng gave his disciples in this one sentence right here. If you hear, after you hear it, you yourself should cast out doubts. You yourself is emphasis. It's a very important thing because you must do it. No one else can do it for you. Not your mother, not your girlfriend. You have to do it yourself. So it's very important. So keep at it. See, ge zi here is keep at it. You got it, Jane? That's why there's ge zi, meaning you have to keep at it and you keep on casting aside, cast aside repeatedly. That's all you do. Nothing. That's how beautiful the instruction is. And that's what? Like a recipe for success, a recipe for baking a cake or cooking something. Same thing, you go through the steps and you keep on doing it, and then you get what you want. It's fabulous. It's ingenious. The way he phrased it is so beautiful. 各自除疑. You have to repeatedly cast it aside yourself over and over and over and over again, and don't complain. Don't whine like some people do. Go ahead, JMT.
Master, so when the sixth patriarch did it, he did that before he leave the fifth patriarch or after?
That's a good question. I don't know how to answer. The more I answer, the more you know more. The Master Shewa disciple. So let me not answer this. Okay? This information is not necessary. It's not going to help you in your practice. So let me not answer it. All right. But that's a good question. So hearing this Dharma, this, you see, it closed, the Fa Hai, the guy who transcribed this sutra, is beautiful. He says, he closed this chapter by giving. So Fa Hai's level is pretty good, by the way. And so he's giving us as a gift, Dharma gift of this sudden teaching. Isn't that beautiful? And that's why he says, hearing of this sudden teaching Dharma, the entire assembly was delighted, made obeisance, and withdrew. Now, I have doubts about the entire assembly right now. Okay? How could it be the entire assembly? That's not possible. For example, no way that the magistrate and all the officials would have no doubts. They're called officials because they have a lot of doubts. You agree? So to me, this is why I disagree with Fa Hai. No way that the whole assembly was delighted. Most of them say, I don't know, I have to be here, but what kind of nonsense is cast aside my doubt. I don't believe it. Okay? So this is actually happened at the assembly. So Fa Hai went too far. This is to me, I disagree with Fa Hai. The entire assembly was delighted. Was he there? Of course not. Could he tell that the entire assembly was delighted? Hell no. They made obeisance? Absolutely. Withdrew? Absolutely. But were delighted? Debatable. Some had doubts. There's no way, unless I explain to you, this phrase here is a sudden teaching, you will not be delighted. Really? I struggled with this for a long, long time. And that's why, let me tell you, to be honest with you, I read it. I went to a few sections like this. I said, I don't dare look at the sixth Patriarch Sutra anymore. That's my reaction. Because it doesn't make sense. You cast aside down, you're the same as a sage. How is it possible? I was scared, let me tell you, because of a section like this. I said, no, can't be. So I avoided the sixth Patriarch Sutra. I read it once, and I said, no, I'm not going to read it again because I'm going to run into this section again. I said, ooh. I will lose faith in my master's Dharma, so I better not read it again. I told you, I have a very difficult childhood. You guys are so sheltered, so spoiled. You don't have to go through what I went through. War and everything. Okay. It's much easier to be Catholic. Okay, shall we go to chapter 2 or shall we take a break? Enough is enough. The certain teaching, I mean, think about it. How often you get this treasure for yourself? You know, wonderful. Just if your doubt arises in anything, not just this, anything, in Buddha Dharma, remember, that's why I kept on stressing to you, only listen, read stuff that's been certified. Remember now? Now does it make sense to you? You only listen to the instructions from a certified sage, meaning patriarchs. You only read things that are from the sages. Because when the doubts arise, then you can apply this. But when you read something from, let's say, a translation from a group that's very good in language, but it's not certified, okay? You're doing the casting aside of the doubt is not going to work, my friends. Not going to work. Seven.
Thầy con có cái ý kiến là cái này là Ngài Lục Tổ làm lúc mà đang ở cái chùa Hoàng Mai á. Tại lúc đầu Ngài đi vào chùa Hoàng Mai là Ngài thấy là cái câu là ưng vô do sự như sanh kỳ tâm. Tức là những ý tưởng mà nó khởi lên là mình rớp nó, mình ignore nó đi, không có trụ vô đó. Thì sau ở 8 tháng rồi thì làm cái bài thơ là bổn lai vô nhất vật, không có cái gì trong đó hết. Trong cái Ngài Thần Tú thì nói như đài gương sáng. Thì một bữa nọ Tổ mấy ngày sau làm bài thơ thì Tổ mới hỏi chứ gạo trắng chưa? Thì Tổ Huệ Năng mới nói là gạo trắng rồi nhưng mà chờ cái sàn. Thì khuya đó đi vô phòng của Tổ thì Tổ mới giảng thêm là ở trong cái không đó, nó có tất cả những cái gì mà mình manifest nó thì nó hiện lên. Thì Tổ mới nói nào ngờ tâm mình chứa tất cả, tâm mình là thế này thế nọ. Thì con nghĩ là Ngài lúc mà 8 tháng Ngài đang sàng lọc cái mà khi vọng tưởng khởi lên mà làm lơ nè. Nên Tổ mới hỏi gạo trắng chưa? Nó dạ trắng rồi, chờ cái sàn nữa. Thì đêm đó gặp Tổ thì Tổ chỉ nói là giảng thêm là trong cái không đó nó chứa tất cả vạn pháp. Thì rao y bát đi luôn. Mình xin hết.
Master, I think like the sixth patriarch, he got this one when he was at the fifth patriarch temple, because he heard one sentence like, when your mind do not dwell on anything, that when you are not dwell on anything, that's when you will give rise to kỳ tâm, to what kind of mind? Sorry, I forgot how to translate that. But
không có trụ cái tâm ở chỗ nào hết á. Cái câu trong kinh Kim Cang.
So that is one sentence from the Patriarch Sutra, and then meaning that whatever thought that arises, you just ignore it. You don't dwell on anything. And then Master Hui Neng stayed there for 8 months. And after 8 months, and then he composed a verse. And then the verse say like, originally there's not a single thing. Like the verse is in response to Shengshou verse. And then after he make that verse, composed that verse, and then fifth patriarch came to see him and asked like, is the rice ready? And he say, the rice is already white and it's just waiting to chờ dần sàng.
Cái sàn.
Just wait to sort it out. So, and then after he heard the fifth patriarch explain the Dharma for him, and then suddenly he aware that my original mind are complete with everything. So, so basically, this is what happened when he was at the fifth patriarch temple.
Sounds good. But the instruction here, the 个字 here, let me explain the 个字 to you. Okay? So far explaining to you the Chu-yi, because I know that Master Shengshou disciples don't understand this process of a sudden enlightenment. Okay? But the Ge-zi here is the actual details, instruction as well. Here's what happens. For most people, especially Tibetans and scholarly people, when they have doubts, what do? They debate it. They encourage debates. They go, for example, a university team and debate about a principle. They discuss it, okay? Or the Jewish scholars or Tibetan monks, they train to debate each other, okay? When you do that, you are violating the Ge-zi. It is so precise. That's why when you see this, you realize that you yourself, all you have to do is cast aside the doubts. You don't need to go and ask him, ask her, and talk it over and see if you can understand it better. It's not going to help you. It is so critical. Understand now, Jane? The Ge-zi has a different purpose. The Ge-zi, meaning the emphasis zi, you yourself must do it. You don't need to debate anyone. No one can tell you, no one can explain it to you. No way. You just have to yourself, when a thought of doubt arises, drop it. Thought of doubt arises, drop it. That's it. That's all you have to do. And that's the secret of Mahayana. It's not about understanding. Smart people are stupid in that sense. They try to understand, they try to make sense out of it, and they can't. See how delightful they all are in Korea. Huh? That's true. Except for here, one person who is not delighted. Are you? It's for Buddhists. It's a Buddhist thing. When we hear such a beautiful thing, we say, oh, I'm so delighted I'm Buddhist. You understand? The assembly, let me read the entire thing for you. The entire assembly was delighted because they were Buddhists, made Buddhist obeisance, and withdrew the Buddhist way. Please. Yes. 9.
Mô Phật bạch thầy. Con nghĩ như vậy nè. Lục tổ với ngũ tổ đó thầy, trước khi đó thầy ngũ tổ đó thầy giao 500 đệ tử cho thằng Tú. Thầy ai nào cũng theo tôi nói ngũ tổ giao những cái trách nhiệm cho thằng Tú này đó, thầy nghĩ thằng Tú là truyền được, lấy được một cái tổ. Rồi đó các 500 vị thằng này nó theo thằng Tú hết, nó cái vọng tượng theo bên kia hết. Rồi Huệ Năng tới thầy những cái vọng tượng đó người ta bỏ hết. Người ta theo những cái vọng tưởng là cái rõ ràng, cái thấy rõ ràng. Rồi Huệ Năng đó thầy không ai theo hết trơn. Là Huệ Năng, ngũ tổ mới thấy Huệ Năng đó là cái người, là đúng là cái người mà không có đi theo cái vọng tưởng. Theo con nghĩ gì đó mô Phật và thầy.
So, Master, at the fifth Patriarch temple, the fifth Patriarch conferred the 500 disciples to follow Shengshou, and then everybody thought that Shengshou will be the next Patriarch, so they follow him with a false thought. And when Huineng came, nobody followed him, and but only the fifth Patriarch aware that Huineng doesn't follow anyone. He did not follow any false thought. I'm not sure if that's the right thinking.
That's along that line. It turns out that the fifth Patriarch failed to teach Shengshou the certain teaching. That's why certain Shengshou did not become enlightened. Shengshou could have been trained to become enlightened, but the fifth patriarch did not give him a proper instructions. That's why Shengshou never made it. Whereas, because, you see, there's a reason why the sixth patriarch's disciples, so many of them are enlightened, because they are trained properly. But the fact of the matter is, fifth patriarch did not train Shengshou properly. That's a fact. Remember, the sixth patriarch became enlightened while on his own. Notice that. He says, the rice is ready. I need to sieve it. I need to run through a sieve to get rid of the things I don't want. The rice is great already. I'm enlightened already. I need more refinement. That's all he says. Okay? He made it on his own. He made it on his own. Whereas Shengshou with the fifth patriarch, day in and day out, and he was not taught properly. Unfortunately for Shengshou. And it doesn't matter. You can disagree or agree. It doesn't matter. The bottom line is that you feel for Shengshou. That's how I look at it. I feel for Shengshou. I said, the guy devoted his entire life to serve his teacher, and what has he got? Nothing. And to me, okay, I don't like it. Fifth patriarch should have said, you know what, Shengshou, you should drop everything and follow Huineng for me. Let's give it a try, because I'm not helping you. Okay, I know I'm in no position to say that, but we Americans, okay, we say a lot of stupid things. It's perfectly okay, okay? You don't need to believe me, but I have a problem with this. I really feel badly for Shengshou, because this instruction is so beautiful. This is pure certain teaching. That if Shengshou heard it, remember, previously, what Shengshou said, oh, I'm not so sure. Should I? Shouldn't I? Should I? Shouldn't I? Should I give him a verse? Should I write it on the wall? Should I give it to him? Should I? Shouldn't I? Should I? Shouldn't I? So what does he have? Doubts, doubts, doubts. He never learned how to deal with it. He was miserable because he was not taught how to deal with doubts. Yes, 5.
Master, that means that as he knows of the cast aside the doubt, then he would have made it.
He would have had a chance. He would have definitely have a chance. Because Shengshou is very sincere. He says, he served his teacher with so much devotion. The teacher says, do this, he did it. You cannot ask for more from Shengshou than that. Fifth patriarch says, I teach you, you teach them. He did that for 20, 30, 40 years. Then he says, let me see what you've got. Write me something. He said, but you know everything about me. What else is left for me to tell you? But he wrote something stupid anyway. Nothing new that the fifth patriarch didn't know already. Notice that. That's what's sad about that story is that the fifth patriarch knew that Shengshou would fail. Yes, 9. Because Shengshou was not trained properly. That's why he had no chance. 9.
Mô Phật bà thầy, như Hòa Thượng Tiên Hóa qua tới Mỹ này nè, thầy ngài là một vị Khánh Nhân rồi, thầy qua tới nước Mỹ này thầy ở trong cái kho, ở tới 10 mấy năm ở trong một cái bóng tối để cho chúng sanh nhìn coi nhìn. Bởi vì Ngài đó cũng biết, Ngài đã thấy rất là rõ, nhìn cái chúng sanh đó đi là tâm gì là Ngài biết hết. Xong thầy đã nói Ngài đã có 1.000 đệ tử đi, thầy chưa có cho ai mà chưa ai tuyên bố một người nào là để làm tổ. Thầy để cho những 1.000 đệ tử này đi mò. Cái đó là rất là hay. Theo con nghe những cái pháp đó, cái đó là rất là hay. Miễn mà bây giờ nói thằng Tú đó, bây giờ người ta giao ngũ tổ giao cho thằng Tú đệ tử, ai nào cũng nói là để rồi là ngũ tổ, ai nào cũng nghi ngờ coi chúng sanh nó có cái trí huệ hoặc là có cái căn cơ nào không. Bởi vì ngũ tổ không có cái giống một cái bài không có cho kêu bằng vậy, kêu bằng hiện ra. Thầy để cho những người này để mò đó. Cái đó là một cái bí mật rất là hay ở trong cái nói cái câu đó tôi không biết nói. Cái là như vậy đó thầy.
Master, I noticed that Master Shengshou, when he came to the U.S., he's already a sage, but then he stayed in the store room for 10 plus years. He lived in the dark, and then he see very clearly what kind of mind living being have. And then I heard that Master Shengshou has 1,000 disciples, but he did not declare who is the next patriarch. So basically the 1,000 disciples of him is just walk in the dark. But I think like that is the secret teaching that is very, very good compared to Shengshou was conferred for the job of teaching, and then there's a lot of doubt and stuff. So I really like the way Master Shengshou did.
No, you're wrong. If the second patriarch were to say, I'm the second patriarch, let me teach you, they would lose all the people. Because they're too loyal to Master Shengshou.
Mô Phật Bạch Thầy. Bây giờ giống hiện giờ này, bây giờ ví dụ đó Ngài Hòa Thượng Tiên Giới có 100 người đệ tử đi. Bây giờ 100 người đệ tử này đó, thầy muốn ai nào cũng lên làm tổ, ai nào cũng. Bây giờ hiện giờ Quả Ngân có nghe nữa đó. Hiện giờ ai nào cũng nói, ô cái người thầy này hay, cái người thầy này làm sao. Đó, là hiện giờ mình thấy những thầy đó là ai nào cũng muốn lên làm lớn hết trơn đó, mà chưa hiện ra. Đó, mô Phật.
I saw Master Shengshou has a lot of disciples. Like let's say he has 100 disciples, but all of them, everybody wants to be the patriarch. So right now we are not very clearly who is who.
Why did I say that if the sixth patriarch gave Shengshou this instruction here on slide 535, Shengshou would have been enlightened. I said more details there that I don't care to explain to you. Okay, so that you can't go out and say, I know everything now, more than anyone else, more than the monks. This is a province where there's some details I leave out because you don't need to know. There's a lot more going on, and this is not as simple as it sounds. Okay, so that you don't get a big head. I gave you enough information for you to say, okay, this is the right way, this is the proper Dharma, this is called certain teaching. That's about it. But the actual details of where you drop you cast aside the doubts to the point where you become enlightened, there's more there that I'm not explaining to you. Let's be clear about it. Okay? So you can repeat this to people, and it's not going to happen. But if Shengshou were to do under Master Huineng, it would have happened. There's a difference. Because the difference is Huineng.
Bạch Thầy, giống thằng Tú vậy đó, ngũ tổ đó để trao cái chức phận cho thành tú, thầy bà Võ Tắc Thiên đó mời vô trong cung để làm quốc sư, chứ không phải là không có đâu. Đó, thì ngũ tổ cũng thấy những cái chuyện đó như vậy, là ai nào đó, bởi vì tới sau này bà Võ Tắc Thiên mới biết lục tổ là vị tổ, mới mời lục tổ vô cung, lục tổ không đi. Mô Phật.
So, Shengshou later on was invited into the king palace by the Emperor Wu Zetian, and the emperor put him to be the national teacher. And then later on, the emperor knew about the fifth patriarch and invited the fifth patriarch to the palace, but the fifth patriarch denied to go.
Okay, shall we move on? Yes, 5.
Master, what makes the difference between Master Huineng that enable Shengshou to become enlightened cannot do that with the fifth patriarch?
Professional secret. I told you, I'm not going to explain everything to you, just to make sure you don't get a big head and think you know everything. You know a little bit more than Master Shengshou disciples, but you don't have all the details. That's what will help you become humble. Okay. All right, chapter 2. Shall we go to chapter 2 or take a break? It's hot afternoon. It's a democracy in America. They feel like taking a break. Master takes a break. I do what I'm told. Prajna is the title of the second chapter. Prajna, okay, this is important. Remember, prajna has 3 types of prajna. This is critical. Memorize it. Literary prajna, contemplative prajna, and real mark prajna. Okay? Prajna has different aspects, okay? And they are in this order. You first need to acquire literary prajna. Then you have to develop contemplative prajna. And then finally, you will attain real mark prajna. Okay? Let me repeat for you. This is important enough for me to beat it into your head. Number 1, learn literary prajna. Learn. Number 2, develop contemplative prajna. It's not learning, but developing. Number 3, you then will attain real mark prajna. The verbs are different. That's the emphasis. Yes, Q&A.
In the example of Master Huineng, did he just jump number 3 without the first because of his previous blessings?
I didn't quite hear the question clearly at all.
So the question is, in the case of Huineng, did he just obtain number 3, the real mark prajna, without because of his
Why does the sound keep on dropping off?
blessings?
Can you hear me?
Sorry. Huh? Yes?
Wait.
Okay. I will just give another try. The question was, or should I not? The question was, in the case of Master Huineng, did he obtain the number 3 real mark prajna before first 2 because of first? Is that the case for him? And that's kind of like exception because he's prior blessings.
Okay, good question. It turns out that Master Huineng attained literary prajna, and then contemplative prajna, and then real mark prajna. It has to be in that order. 1, 2, 3. Are you trying to sabotage me? Good try.
I guess I asked this because Master Huineng was illiterate, and then he did not meditate before he got enlightened, right?
Are you contradicting me again? I don't find it funny. Anyone else finds it funny? Billy. Boo, boo, boo. I thought so. Woman in orange. You find it funny? You're from the other camp? I assure you, I stand by my position.
Can I comment?
Number 1, number 2, number 3 is the only way.
Okay. Okay, yes, Master.
It took only 3 times. The doubt, which other people, they doubt, but say, I don't know about this guy. I'm out of here. I'm out of here. He doesn't know what he's talking about. It's not doubt, it's rejection. Master Huineng, why did I say he's number 1? He went to literary wisdom. That phrase is literary wisdom. It's because of that phrase right there. 应无所作而生其心 is literary prajna. So far, so good? See, these people, they have so much doubts. I said, because they're afraid of me. That's why they disagree when, I don't know. Let me shelve it for now. Number 2, what about contemplative? Meditation is not about crossing legs, my friend. Meditation could be standing there and not moving. So from listening to that phrase right there, he went into contemplation and said, what? And opened his contemplative prajna. Because of that, he's able, what's the proof? That he opened his contemplative prajna from listening to that phrase? What's the proof? He dropped his dear mother. Mommy dearest. He said, thank you, Mommy, I'm out of here. You're on your own, you hear? That's contemplative prajna. He can drop his mother. Before, it's not possible. Her objection was about 1 and 2. She didn't object to number 3, so I'm not going to go into number 3. Next, 4. The following day, at the invitation of Magistrate Wei, the Master ascended the Dharma seat and said to the Great Assembly, all of you, purify your minds and think about Maha Prajna Paramita.
次日，为使君请益，师生坐，告大众曰：总静心念摩诃般若波罗蜜多。
Okay. So, 5, they invited, you have to invite the Master to speak the Dharma. It's very official, very formal thing. Okay? It shows respect. You don't respect. Invitation here means it's done politely and it's done with respect. If it's done without any respect, you don't need to speak the Dharma. For example, so you go to the temple, oh yeah, Master, would you like to speak the Dharma? He said, no thanks. But if you say, please speak the Dharma. Yeah, you. Okay, so it's a request respectfully. Number 2, he ascended the Dharma seat. You have to treat them properly. You look up, you don't look down. To the speaker, the Dharma, that's important. That's why the Koreans got it right. They have a Dharma seat that's elevated here so that you look up, make sure that you look up to it. For example, I like the fact that in some of these churches, they have a pulpit, pulpit that's raised like that height. I saw in the old churches, I loved it. I said, that's it. Respect of the sermon. If you listen respectfully, you get a lot more out of it. It's a fact, okay? So he ascended the Dharma seat so that you always look up like this. All right? And the Great Assembly has lots of people, and the Master says, all of you, purify your mind, okay? Meaning stop being so scattered and think, and oh, I like the smell. Okay? You concentrate, you quiet your mind and think. Yeah, to help you quiet your mind, think of Maha Prajna Paramita. Okay? What does it mean, think about Maha Prajna Paramita? For those of you, for most of us, just do Maha Prajna Paramita, Maha Prajna Paramita, Maha Prajna Jesus Paramita, Maha Prajna, don't you dare, Paramita. You see what I mean? Okay? So that's what you do. And Maha is great, Prajna is transcendental wisdom, Paramita is arrive at the other shore. All right, any questions? Next, 6. He then said, good no advisors, the wisdom of Bodhi in Prajna is inherently possessed by worldly people themselves. It is only because their conditioned minds are confused that they are unable to enlighten themselves and must rely on a great, good, knowing advisor who can instruct and lead them to see their Buddha nature.
复云：善知识，菩提般若之智，世人本自有之，只缘心迷，不能自悟，虚假大善之事，世导见性。
Okay, 7. Lots of information here. Okay, and this is so wonderful that he can compress everything that the 5th Patriarch should have taught his disciples into that one paragraph right there. Good no advisors, meaning that you who have been learning from the patriarchs. and who have developed what? At least literary prajna. So, Bodhi, the wisdom of Bodhi and prajna, I'm hesitating, should add details about, differentiate about Bodhi and prajna, but it's close enough. That's not overdo it, okay? The Master says Bodhi, so that in the three kinds of Bodhi, mind, sound, hearer, conditioned, enlightened, and the unsurpassed Bodhi. Okay, so that's the distinction of enlightenment. The mind of enlightenment is that level of the sound hearer, or a little bit higher, the conditioned, enlightened ones, okay? Or highest is unsurpassed of the Buddhas. All right? It says originally, inherently, was inherently possessed by worldly people. So that is referred to inherent wisdom, 本智, 本智, 本慧. Okay? So it's inherent wisdom. Okay? This is possessed by people. It's only because their conditioned mind are confused that they are unable to enlighten themselves and must rely on a great good advisor who can instruct and lead them to see the Buddha nature. Okay? So what happened is that even though we are inherently enlightened, meaning we have this inherent wisdom of the Buddha nature, however, because of their conditioned mind here refers to we put our children into Bible studies. We send them to church. We send them to school. We send them to universities so that the minds are conditioned. That's what happens to us, to our children. What happened to me? What happened to you? Happened to everyone else in this room here. Our minds were conditioned by society. You go in a communist system, your mind's conditioned according to communist value systems. Yes or no? We are conditioned by capitalist value systems. Yes? That's called conditioning. The Chinese, the Asians are conditioned by Confucian value systems. The Catholics are conditioned by what? Guild system. Poor Daniel, he gets confused. He gets abused and confused. Yes, sir. 2.
I was going to say, I think you're conditioned to your past karma from prior lives. Since that's still there, that's what I think your conditioning is.
Yes. You're also conditioned by habit energies. Yes, it's true. However, the stress here is that every single time we have a new body, we're conditioned by our environment. That's the key point. Because wherever you are, you're conditioned by an Asian value system, Western value system, evil value system, good value system. You know, there's a system of value conditioning where you say, as long as you make a profit, it's okay. The bottom line is that we make more money, we earn more money. That's called conditioning. Okay? Whereas we Buddhists prefer to condition your mind to, it's not about money, it's about goodness. It's about how you feel about yourself at the end of the day. The amount of money you make, the amount of alcohol you consume cannot make you feel any better. The only thing that makes you feel better than before is your mind becomes, your heart becomes gooder. Agree or disagree? You want to be happier and say, I want to become happier by making more money. And if it takes cheating someone, stealing from someone, invading someone else's country, it's okay as long as you get away with it, you ain't gonna be happy. You'll be hounded by your own karmic retributions. Whereas if you do good deeds, you help others, and you forget about yourself, okay? You help others. Then those good deeds will bring on good consequences, good retributions, meaning others will help you, others will give you, others will aid you, others will assist you when you're in trouble, okay? Others will care for you. That is called happiness. Happiness is a community thing. Yes, sir. One.
I have a quick question. So let's say that someone creates good deeds at a time. Will you always receive good deeds, or bad deeds will also happen if you are always creating good deeds anyways?
You're doing good deeds and bad deeds at the same time?
No, let's say you're just doing all good deeds and then you still things bad happen to you. Could that happen in Buddhism?
Impossible. It never happens to us Buddhists. When we do good things, we Buddhists always get the good things. It's only the non-Buddhists who get in trouble. Yes, sir. Continue.
Because you guys believe in something called karma retributions, right? So let's say that I never had a past life, or we're just pretending that for 1 second, and I still create good karmas in this lifetime. Does that mean that I was just going to get good things back, or the demon will still attempt to tempt the person, even if he does good deeds?
Okay, let me give an analogy. May I? It's too difficult to explain things to non-Buddhist people. Okay, let me give you analogies instead of explaining principles. Suppose you plant a lot of marijuana trees in your field. You have 1 acre. And you plant legally, I'm talking legal things. You Koreans don't understand us in California. We can legally plant marijuanas. Okay? And make more money that way. So we plant a lot of this field of marijuanas. Okay? And then one day, Daniel, who's been planting his field with all marijuana trees, one day he says, I feel bad, so let me plant a few. Maybe let me plant 1 banana tree. So at the end of the season, when you harvest it, you harvest 30 bananas and 3,000 pounds of marijuana. And you want good things to happen to you, Just because you planted one banana tree? You understand my point? No, you don't. Okay, let me try another one. My point here is that, let's say in a prior lives, you've been doing a lot of bad things. One banana is this lifetime, one banana tree is this lifetime, but the other lifetime before that, you've been doing a lot of bad stuff, repeatedly. One lifetime you planted one banana tree and you expect good things to happen to you? That's impossible. Unlikely. And this is why it's called false advertising. You give me, you build a church for me, you give me money, and you buy a yacht for me, I guarantee you get to the heaven. It's not possible. Because the weight of all these bad things is still pulling you down. Does it make sense? You're sinking because of the weight of your karmic retribution. And you do one good deed or one lifetime's worth of good deed, it's not enough. You still are going to be pulled down by hundreds lifetimes, thousands of lifetimes of bad deeds. Is that clear? Okay, very good. Don't get dejected. It's okay. Did you want to follow up, sir? Time is up, sorry. Oh, the abuses get so... It takes so much imagination to increase the abuse consistently. I'm kidding. We're out of time. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time.